Where is Hajra?
They are earning less than 3,000.
It's less than 5,000.
Than 3,000.
Yeah, guys, I'm glad.
Yes, engage you.
Now they are packing the highest, but it will cover that, but it's supposed to be clean.
Uyaphila baba umngambi.
Ukhona umngambi la.
Uphilile.
Sawubona mfowethu. Uthuleleni. Uyatwitter kanti? Ungena enkathazweni ngo-Twitter mfowethu. Okay. Ngizodinde ayivele
minimum
Oh yeah.
What is big?
Sure. Big is putting a spanner on the wheel with regard to the job process and finance. Big business. The one I believe I should have that. It is from the whole. Yeah, we think so. Mahlangu to be similar.
Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, sorry for really delaying you. We really apologize. Let us not waste any more time. We've invited you to this briefing of the special CC. There is a statement that you have in your possession now, but also we'll be distributing a revised version, meaning the content is the same, but they are just additions. What I'm going to do now is that I'm going to introduce you to the leadership, allow the General Secretary to read the statement and we proceed with the first review. On the far side, I have the Deputy General Secretary, Comrade Lusori Pedwe, and then next to Comrade Lusori Pedwe, there's the National Treasurer of the Federation, Comrade Frida Ostensen, and in the middle, the General Secretary of the Federation, Comrade Bekijajali, and then next to him, we have the President of the Federation, Comrade Stumotamin, and next to me is the first Deputy President of the Federation, Comrade Kemper James. Without much further ado, I'm going to hand over to the General Secretary. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Sizwe. Good morning. Let's read the statement and we'll be able to take the answer, the question as we move on. This is the press release for the special CEC held on the 3rd February 2016. The Congress of South African Trade Unions convened a one-day special Central Executive Committee meeting yesterday to discuss the Taxation Law Amendment Act. The meeting also reflected on the Border Management Agency and a briefing on the recent leaked interim basic education ministerial task team report. The special CEC took place at a time when the economy is shedding jobs across all sectors and the level of unemployment has reached an alarming 35%. The deepening level of poverty are exacerbated by the emergence and the increase in the rate of the working poor, where more than 60% of workers are earning less than 5,000 rand. The rate of exploitation is increasing, with big business consolidating their profit maximizing maneuvers at the expense of the working class. The rate of precarious employment is increasing at the same rate of exploitation. The meeting also took place in the context of the sharpening class contradiction that have coincided with the increasing control of the South African economy by international monopoly capital. The economic downturn, which comes with the capitalist maneuvers and the incoherence of our revolutionary alliance, has reinforced the power of the domestic counter-revolutionary forces. The recent takeover SABC Miller, SAB Miller, AB Inbeck merger is a sign the arrogance and the boldness of the free market foundation and the big business approach or reluctance to take seriously discussion in the minimum wage is a sign that they are emboldened. The big business is putting a spanner in the wheel with regard to the process that are meant to finalize an agreement for the legislated national minimum wage. We'll be heightening our campaign against the free market foundation, against an attempt to undermine workers' rights. We're also mobilizing against the EXCOM electricity tariff hike application. There's an obvious class polarization taking place in our society, and unfortunately, it is also finding expression within our movement, and it is increasingly become the dividing political line. Whilst we have seen the convergence within the ANC-led alliance on the national content of the National Democratic Revolution, including consensus on the radical phase of our transition, there is, however, a chasm of the class content, which is being driven by the state, which seeks to undermine this consensus in practice. There are also many policies that are being pursued by the state whose content is meant to hollow out and erode the hard-won rights of the workers. It is also patently obvious that some of these developments are the reflection of the weaknesses in the organizational power of the working class. This weakness has emboldened the class enemies, and they feel confident that they can unleash an offensive against Cosatu without repercussions. We have no illusions about our weakness, but neither must our class enemies and detractors be overconfident and exaggerate their strength. We want to make it clear that this offensive will receive an equal response from the workers and all the progressive forces. We want to see all the progressive resolutions and the policies that have been adopted by the Alliance and the 52nd Polokwane ANC Conference and the Mangaung Conference of the ANC. The Special CC therefore located this unilateral enactment of this law by government without a comprehensive social security paper as not only the provocation of workers, but as a worrying rejection and the abandonment of the alliance and the ANC position by government. The subject of the release of the comprehensive social security paper is a decision of a several alliance summit and numerous ANC conferences and NGCs. The meeting also characterized the decision and the deliberate ignoring of the Government Commission, Taylor Commission report and its recommendation as a wasteful expenditure. Government cannot ignore or allow the recommendation of this paid-for commission to gather dust. The Special CEC reiterated its rejection of this law and called for it to be scrapped. The meeting rejected the myth that workers do not want to save, but pointed out that they do not earn enough to save. It also reminded government that workers all around the country participated in the stokvels, in the saving schemes every day to try and save from their meager wages, and all they need are incentive and not a patronizing law. The meeting expressed concern that NETLEC is being made redundant and undermined, and also that parliamentarians are sleeping at the wheel. They should have insisted on the NETLEC report first before passing the law. The NETLEC Act has been abandoned by both Parliament and the Cabinet, and the parliamentarian must know that they are the custodians of the NETLEC Act. Cosatu, therefore, shall wage a serious battle to revive and defend the integrity of this institution of our democracy. The context of this struggle was also located to be beyond just the Provident Fund laws, but to about the case of a classical neoliberalism offensive from government that preaches austerity measures and also expects workers to pay for their sins of others. This offensive is represented by the government's emerging call for cutting social spending and the unilateral moderation or even threats to cancel workers' wage increase to please foreign rating agencies. This law will deny workers the right to use their money to improve their lives, while allowing pension fund managers and consultants to continue living in opulence using the same workers' money. The recent report pointing to the mismanagement of pension fund and provident funds and the unemployment insurance fund have widened the trust deficit between workers and government. Going forward, the meeting called for the escalation of the campaign through the mobilization of workers, of Cosatu's members and workers in general, alliance partners, progressive civil society, and communities against this law. We know, as proven by history, that workers are their own liberators and will liberate themselves from these laws. They will not plead for the scrapping of this law, but they will fight for the scrapping of this law. They will do what they have always done in these situations. They will not beg, but they will demand. They will fight for their rights and defend their hard-won gains. The meeting appreciated that the ANC-NEC instructed that there be a meeting between us and Treasury. This political intervention is a result of the pressure that has been put by the Federation to all affected parties on this matter. We appreciate that as soon as this matter was brought to the attention of the ANC, they convened a meeting between us and the officials, which was followed out by the ANC-NEC Lekgotla that instructed Treasury to meet with us. We'll continue to engage with all stakeholders, especially government, but the CEC was very clear that Cosatu should defend its resolution and cannot afford to rely on goodwill and benevolence of government, especially considering the trust deficit that has developed between us and government. Going forward, we shall act urgently to mobilize and galvanize workers, starting with the lunchtime pickets and protest action at Network office tomorrow during the Section 77 notice engagement. Between now and the Cosatu Ordinary CEC, which is taking place between the 22nd and the 24th of February 2016, we expect all our affiliates to organize protests at the Treasury's offices and also convene workplace meetings and report back session in the workplace. There will also be lunchtime pickets, town-based meeting, and that mobilization process will be assessed by Cosatu Ordinary CEC later this month. The nationwide shop steward council and protest will continue after the normal CEC and will also include provincial marches. This will be in preparation for a massive general strike that is planned to coincide with the implementation date of this law, which is the 1st of March 2016, subject, of course, to the network engagement tomorrow. Our consolidated program will be circulated to you. The message coming from the CEC is very clear. We will not stop this campaign if the law is not scrapped. We want the whole process of Social Security and Pension Fund reform to be restarted at Network. Retirement saving belongs to workers and they will decide what they want to do with them and no one else. The tactics to divide workers and the misinformation campaign from the state has not worked. Workers are united on these issues and the Federation will lead them to battle this campaign. Workers will not resign because that will weaken our organizational power and it is tantamount to cowardice and giving up. Some of our struggles are already yielding results. We are happy that government has concluded the sectoral determination for farm workers, but we're also concerned that they are delaying on the promulgation of the sectoral determination in the wholesale and retail sectors. We're happy with the content of the UIF proposal. On the Border Management Agency, which is the second issue that we discuss in the CEC, the Special CEC also received report about the planned Border Management Agency bill by the Department of the Home Affairs, working with other departments. These agencies are likely meant to police our porous borders. Another law is also planned to formalize the formation of this border agency bill. The Special CEC overwhelmingly and totally rejected this agencyfication of the state. It noted that our government is slowly legislating all South African problems instead of dealing with them. Our experience as a federation is that these agencies do not solve service delivery problems, but they create an elite force of workers who are overpaid to do what they can be done by workers in the government department. They are also looted and abused by the political interest and end being more expensive to the taxpayer. Some of the proposed aspects of this agency will also undermine the binding nature of collective bargaining and will allow ministers to unilaterally determine the salaries and recruitment outside of the bargaining process. Agencyfication in general takes out the right to strike, destroy the collective bargaining, and their proposed enforcement of confidentiality will undermine the workers' right. There are enough laws already in place dealing with the information management. Agencies have been abused in this country and not accountable, as we have seen with many of them. This proposal also goes against the ANC position of strengthening the capacity of the state. The ANC clearly stated that one of the identified reasons for the unresponse state was the outsourcing and the emasculation of the state. The ANC and the alliance position are ambiguous in that we need to increase the capacity of the state so that the state can drive the movement's developmental agenda. This is a deviation from that understanding, and will vigorously oppose it if it's unilaterally imposed on the workers. All these goals can be achieved under the umbrella of the department themselves, working together and also improving the levels of efficiency. On the Ministerial Task Team report, this is a report that was dealing with the alleged selling of post. The Federation also discussed and condemned the leak and the sometimes political finding of the Basic Education Ministerial Task Team investigating the selling of the post in schools. Firstly, the CEC condemned the leaking of the report and concluded that it is a deliberate attempt meant to smear, malign, and alienate our affiliate SACTU in public. Some of the leaked information, including the recommendation coming out of this report, is very troubling for the Federation. The report goes on even to cite the ANC, SACTU, and the SACP as the corrupt parties colluding to corrupt the education system. It recommends the creation of a staff association to replace SACTU from organizing principal, heads of department, and other office workers. It also recommends the isolation and exclusion of the school governing bodies from the school recruitment process. This goes against the ANC theme of advancing the people's power. We call on the minister to refrain from publicly using SACTU as a scapegoat, and she must also stop the leaking of this report. The parties being smeared by these leaks were not even given an opportunity to respond and defend themselves. We shall escalate this issue to our upcoming CEC at the end of the month. Cosatu is clear that it will not stand idle while the campaigning is emerging and underway to undermine the Federation and its affiliates throughout the laws of schools. The message is clear. Workers are ready for a fight. Thank you, Comrade Sizwe.
Thank you, Comrade Diaz. We are now going to take questions. We just want you to tell us your name, your media house, and then you can ask your questions. Well, the first round is going to be 4 or 5 questions.
Thank you very much. Colin Zambi from ENCA. If the President does give in and scraps this law, will this not further contribute to a weakened, an already weakened head of state, if you take into account the Nhlanhla debacle and the increasing unhappiness around his relationship with the Gupta family? Thank you.
Good morning, SABC News. On the issue of the upcoming elections, the special CEC discussed Cosatu's position, given all these challenges that you have highlighted, and unhappiness with the ANC-led government. Are you, as the CEC, you discuss whether Cosatu's going to back the ANC again, as we've seen in the past in the elections?
Thank you, it's Kelvin from Eyewitness News. Okay, Anders, just can I get some clarity? You mentioned, I think in the second paragraph, the rate of precarious employment is increasing at the same rate of exploitation. I just wanted to find out an elaboration on this precarious employment. And then you mentioned 2 paragraphs below, I think you meant to say big business is putting a spanner in the wheel with regard to the finalization of the agreement for the legislated national minimum wage. And you said you will also campaign against the Free Market Foundation. Just get elaboration on the details of that campaign and how big business is stifling the agreement. Thank you.
Colin from the Business Day. Yeah, just when will you be meeting with Treasury on this issue, if there is a time? And just to add on to the question, because this obviously has been signed into law by President Zuma, how would the process work if you were to demand that this goes back to NEDAC, like you met? Who would be responsible for kind of overturning that or delaying the implementation of the Act? Thanks.
Okay, President.
Thank you very much, Comrade Sizwe. The call for the bill to be scrapped and people interpreting that if it does happen that way, it therefore means the president is further weakened. I think it's a political question which we'll try to respond to quite politically. Firstly, starting by saying Cosatu makes this call purely informed by its desire to have this law scrapped or repealed, not by desire to weaken the state president. We are making this call because we believe that this law is wrong. And by the way, Cosatu is not putting the blame on the president for having signed this law, because we, in our own understanding, the processes of the promulgation of the law is a very, very long procedure. He becomes the final point of call. So if there was
any blame, which we have already been putting, and even in our statement right now, when we're saying parliamentarians were sleeping on the wheel, we're not talking about the president. We're talking about the people who passed this law, who were supposed to ask a question. Has consultation processes at NEDLAC been exhausted? And what is the report of NEDLAC saying about deliberations at NEDLAC? The president would have been nowhere to be the deciding factor there. So we cannot even begin to point a finger to the president when the very same law, Linda Cole, I must give you an answer. This law, when it is passed, it is supported by political parties in parliament. All of them. And I still dare say all of them, because even those who are still shouting and saying we're lying, they did not support. We never had them doing anything to reject this law. So they are complicit. It has been supported by all political parties in parliament. It's a law that is so bad for the workers in South Africa, supported by all parties in parliament. Now, the question we are asking, will therefore a repeal of this law not add to an understanding that says, therefore, Zuma is a weak president because he has recalled Van Rooyen and replaced him with Pravin Gordhan at the time when everybody was condemning the appointment. And he has now said he is going to pay, he's willing to pay a portion of the Nkandla work that was done there. And therefore, he's a weak president. Cosatu is not looking at that window. We're not looking at a weak president. We have said we commend him, actually, for having taken a bold step to even say, I am going to pay a portion as determined by the public protector. And we think that should allow that matter to close. But we know it's not going to close because it's a political tool for political parties, particularly from the opposition. We understand that very well. But as the workers, were not confused about that to be then focusing on the president about this matter. Secondly, we did not discuss the election SABC. We will be discussing the elections in the normal Central Executive Committee meeting, where we continue to do our own assessment and oiling our machinery for the elections. But we have always continued to make the point that with the taxation law in place and no willingness from government to repeal this law, it will be very, very difficult as we will be going out on the campaign to put aside that issue and say, workers, forget about the pensions, let's go and vote. Which is why we say we acknowledge in our statement and appreciate the fact that the ANC, NEC has initiated and facilitated that let this matter be resolved as speedily as possible. And we want to believe that they are genuine in calling so. We've already had a few meetings with the ANC themselves. We've had a meeting with Treasury. There are scheduled meetings for NEDLAC tomorrow, but there are also other scheduled meetings with Treasury to find a solution to this matter. I will then take the last from my bit, which is from Business Day, because I will not deal with Gavin's very critical questions about the precarious employment. Comrades will deal with that. we continue to meet with Treasury, but meeting outside must not undermine the processes of NEDLAC. We're going to NEDLAC tomorrow, where we're discussing our Section 77, and that's where we are going to be putting up front these issues of Cosatu's concern about this matter, the absence of a debate on the comprehensive social security, and a range of other issues that we are highlighting. We'll be doing that at NEDLAC. Once and when we reach an agreement or an understanding, that will then have to talk to the law, how it is then changed to accommodate this consent, or it is repealed to be started afresh, which is what is Cosatu's call. The processes of government would have to kick in, which we do not seek to interfere with such processes, where NEDLAC has concluded a discussion and then parliamentary processes kick in. The relevant government department responsible for that will do so. But I also would want to understand, we are raising this question also because there is a possibility of parallel processes. When the ANC on one side says, let this be discussed, what does it say to the processes of parliament and the fact that there is a law? Again, the ANC knows how it must tackle that. When the presidency is now involved in finding a solution because it is now at the level of the president where this law was finally passed through, they know what procedures to follow when they have to face a situation where they must either withdraw the law or amend the law, realizing that there are things that need to be changed. And I think we're not yet at that space. Let's allow that there are engagement processes that have started right now. And yeah, Gavin's question.
No, thanks, Comrade President. Just to repeat the last question in terms of the processes. All processes will have to follow a legal route in terms of scrapping those sections that we disagree with them. It has to go to NEDLAC. There are various ways of dealing with these particular issues, whether the long way that you go to Parliament or you use other avenues available. We're also exploring those issues as to how quick. We would not want to go to the 6-month processes, go to the Parliament, go to the committee, or to conclude this matter by August, October this year. We wanted the shortest, the quickest way to ensure that workers' interests are protected on these issues. This is linked to the first question, that how government should be seen if they concede to our demand. I think it should be seen as a government that listens. That when the issues are raised that are not correct and government act in a positive way, it should be a government that listens to the issues that are being raised. So it should not be regarded as a weakness. It should be regarded as a government that listens, that act promptly to the issues that are being raised. Now, of course, the law will not be repealed by the president. I think it will be repealed through the processes, the legislative processes, and within the law in dealing with those. That's why our issues of NEDLAC become paramount, because we want to defend that institution and want to defend the NEDLAC Act. In regard to the precarious employment, in any economy, jobs are lost and created every day. But the scenario that is worrying us is that the jobs that are being destroyed are the decent and the quality jobs. I mean, mines are going to be retrenching. We are being told that in the retail, there are a number of big companies that are retrenching jobs. But at the same time, jobs are created every day. The difference is that the jobs that are being created are temporary in nature, they are precarious, they are lowly paid. They are not the quality jobs. That's what we're talking about here. And when the jobs are created in that form, it just increases and extends the poverty. That the working workers, the working poor, just increase as you try to address your employment, which is one of the issues that we were not keen to talk about. Lowly paid jobs, one quality and decent work. On the big business, I think the Free Market Foundation today is holding its press conference. We are going to be engaged with the Free Market Foundation on the week of the 22nd on that week of February, where they are demanding, or which they are attacking the collective bargaining. We disagree with them. We disagree with their spokespersons, Herman Mashaba, the DA candidate for Johannesburg. We disagree with them. So it's going to be an issue that now has to be decided legally. But we're not only banking in terms of the court decision on these particular issues. It's an issue that we are going to fight in the streets. We're going to be upping up our demonstrations against their actions. On the national legislated national minimum wage, the President in his State of the Nation address last year tasked NEDLAC under the leadership of Deputy President. The intention in the work plan was to finish this work as early as July 2015. Unfortunately, business has been dragging here. They are not playing the ball. They do every trick in the book not to engage honestly in terms of those issues, which then will be one of the issue that the President has to report in the State of the Nation address. I think the report, as we say, it is going to be a weak report because not much progress is being done here. Of course, we see the same thing from government, that they are lastly warm in terms of these issues. They are not pushing enough as we push in terms of getting these issues legislated. So that's why we're referring to the big business putting the spanner in the work, and many workers, which are the vulnerable workers, will suffer due to the delay in regard to those particular issues. I think, Comrade President, we exhausted some of the questions. There might be follow-up in terms of.
Okay, this round that follow up is the last round. So any other question would have to be.
Yeah, follow up. The follow up.
Yeah, in fact, all this is going to be one of those people who will attend to outside of the press. Yes? Yes. Okay.
Are you seeing many of your members resigning as a result of these tax laws? And the second question is, will you be working with other organizations, especially NUMSA or 9+, because they are also campaigning against these tax laws? And is there still trust between you and is there still trust left between you and the government? Because sometimes they seem to be undermining you by taking laws without even seemingly not consulting you.
Well, good afternoon. You're with SABC News, just coming to you live out of Cosatu's media briefing there. The Cosatu General Secretary, Becky and Chali detailing their special Central Executive Committee meeting, specifically focusing on the Taxation Law Amendment Act.
Is this relation of the alliance, Cosatu and the SABC would say that we want to swell the ranks of the ANC, but if
doesn't seem like it's working. I mean, for the ANC, the law is to assist the workers who, I mean, in the past cashed in their pensions and misused them. So they want to arrest that particular situation. And I'm sure the president of Cosatu said would have agreed with the fellow NEC members to say that look, this is to assist the workers. So, I mean, why is it that every time you agree with your alliance partner, the ANC, the first thing you think of is to go to the street, but and then you come and tell people that no, we will vote for the ANC.
Okay, Colin Amos.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask the question in a different way, I suppose, because I think it follows logic that the president signed the legislation or the legislation into law. Yes, you, I suppose, are sheltering him now. You're protecting him by saying that he's not the only one at fault and other arms of the state are implicit or complicit rather. But surely any person with reason will surely see that as you simply defending and protecting President Jacob Zuma. As you've already mentioned, the Nkandla saga is yet another further in the opposition parties who have consistently banged on to say he needs to pay the Nkandla money, and for the longest time he's refused to do this, but now has recently given in. You can't possibly dismiss the perception, because unfortunately perceptions are a reality, that he is increasingly becoming weakened, even from your own alliance partners. In fact, he has been questioned on the Gupta matter, even at the alliance, at the NEC level, raised by the alliance partner, the SACP. Why are you protecting President Zuma?
Yeah, sure. I'm from SABC News. My question is a bit linked to that of Matuma, just to basically find out as to how confident are you that with these matches that you're planning to have, you'll actually win this battle, considering that you had similar matches as far as Eto's are concerned, but we have seen very little results from that.
Okay, thank you, Mani. I've got two questions, please. The first one relates to Nkandla, and I'd just like to get a straight answer, please, from the president. What do you think of President Jacob Zuma saying he won't pay the money back and now saying he will? His change of mind. I'd just like to get your assessment on that. And then secondly, I'd like to interrogate this claim by Cosatu that there was no consultation on the pension reform. So if you go on the Parliamentary Monitoring Group website and you look at the outcome of what happened in Parliament, it says that there was extensive consultation over 2 years, and from the onset, Cosatu did not agree with it, but other players such as NACTU and Fedusa and government were on board. And I've spoken to NEDLAC, and they say in their view, consultation did take place, but there's no report because there was no consensus that was reached there. So I'd just like to get a response from Cosatu on this insistence by the Treasury that it did in fact consult, and it's using that Parliament report as evidence that it consulted.
Okay.
Yes, from New Age. With all these ramblings among alliance members, does it not signal that the political expounded upon, assuring a